And yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us. My name is Shireen Ben Zayed. I'm Head of Innovation at Finastra. I'm really excited to be here with you today with our partners, Laurence from BNP Paribas, as well as Chris and Will from our design and customer innovation team. Really excited to have you all here, and maybe we can do a quick round of intros so you can share all a little bit more about yourselves. And yeah, just wanted to mention that this is part of Hack to the Future, our global fintech hackathon, where we are focusing on three themes. Sustainable and inclusive finance is the first one, second is embedded finance, and third one is decentralized finance. So as you've guessed, this one is focused on theme one with a special focus on financial inclusion, specifically for young people. So with that, I suggest that we go really quick round of intro so everyone in the call gets to know who our guests are. So Laurence, do you want to start?
Yes, of course. Hello, so I'm Laurence Bourgeois. I'm in charge of financial inclusion within BNP Paribas Personal Finance. I will tell you a little bit more afterwards. But financial inclusion is a strategic topic for personal finance. And then I will tell you later. Just perhaps about me, I have 25 years experience in the banking sector, mainly in the retail part. And after some experience in Belgium in really retail banking, I joined BNP Paribas Personal Finance 10 years ago. And I have several experience in finance, in risk, in marketing, and in M&A, so quite a transversal experience. I let the floor to Florence, who is working with.
My name is Florence. I've been working with BNP Paribas for something like 15 years. And I've joined the financial inclusion team within BNP Paribas Personal Finance in May 2021.
Welcome. Bienvenue. So maybe next, I'm Chris Doro, based out of Dubai, heading up our what we call a customer innovation practice, just basically responsible for driving innovation, new use cases, all that fun stuff around emerging technologies. So welcome and pleasure to be on board and help guide you through today's session. Over to you, Will. And you're on mute, pal.
I'm sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Will. I'm based in Singapore, and I'm also the design and innovation lead. I kind of support Chris Zoro from an APAC perspective. So in the same, we try to drive use cases, innovation use cases, and bring in meaningful solutions to our customers. Look forward to work with you guys today and have fun for today's session.
Cool, thank you so much. So should we get started? Do you want maybe to take us through the mural board?
Yes.
Well, and then, yeah.
In the chat, I put a link to the mural board. This is the activity board that we'll be using today to help guide the discussion. And for those of you that cannot join the mural board, I am going to share my screen right now. Hopefully you're able to see the mural board, and feel free to participate at any time if you want to have a question or you want to insert a post-it or you have an idea. Feel free to include it in the chat, and we'll be able to, between Will and I, we'll be able to capture it and throw it on the board and make it a discussion. So don't think that you're not part of it. Throw your hands up, ask questions, have some fun. So the first things first, I'm just letting everybody log in and get their spirit animal on the go. I see the crab, a goat, a ram, a shark, perfect. So Without further ado, I'm going to summon everyone to the board and take you through quickly some functionality within Mural to help you get started. So for those of you that are in the boards, we have this little Mural tip. So basically what you want to do is if you want to add any idea or a post-it note, you simply double click on top of the area and go ahead and type in anything that you would like to do. You can change the color by clicking on the post-it note, the size, the shape. I'll play around with it as you see fit. And if you ever want to zoom in, zoom out, you can either, if you're using a pinch pad on your laptop, you can always use the pinch function to zoom in, zoom out. Or if you're using a mouse, I find the easiest way to zoom in, to zoom out is to use click Z. So Command Z. Or click Control plus and Control minus. Command for anybody using laptop. Now, when you want to move around the board, obviously you can click the space bar, and you'll see this little Mickey Mouse hand that comes up. And once you do that, once you're holding the space bar, you can click anywhere, and then you can drag the mural. If you're ever lost, don't worry. I have this nice summon button down here, and I can bring everybody back into Zoom. So we'll continue to use that just to make sure that everybody's at the same space. And then one last trick before everybody goes ahead and starts typing and importing things is if you want to zoom into a post-it note. So for example, this small one right here, let's have fun, I think it is, but I can't really see it. If you hold down the X key and you zoom over top of it, gonna make a liar out of me now.
Chris, one thing that I realized is that the feature doesn't work as well. I think something wrong with the mural, the whole X and zoom in. It used to work. I'm not sure why recently.
So anybody here, go ahead, start clicking on, make some post-it notes, and have some fun. While I shift forward the goals and objectives. So I'm going to summon everybody here, and I want everybody here just to quickly take 1 minute, 2 minutes, and double click and tell me what you want to get out of today's session. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Just go ahead, add a post-it note, and tell us what you want to get out of today's session. So that's for everybody on the call. Feel free to add it into the chat as well in the Teams chat, and I can also include that. Perfect.
Chris, as we are defining here the objectives, should we first maybe go through the use case, like what the challenge is, or are you keeping that for a bit later?
Yeah, we're definitely there.
So should we have it now or just after the objectives?
Maybe Maybe if Laurence or Florence, if you want to give people a little bit of context in terms of what the challenge is today.
Sure. Okay. So sustainable development. We know that this is a key topic, and what's in it for the banking sector. We know from a Kantar study that the expectation of the consumers towards the banking and insurance sector is first to address societal problems related to equity between individuals. And they think that our sector can have a real impact on financial inclusion through financial literacy. So PF, as I mentioned, is a part of BNP Paribas. It's a consumer finance company. We are active in 30 countries. And I think that with us, we have Maria from Spain. And we are active mainly on credit for individuals through partnerships with retailers, with auto dealers, and we are also, of course, present in B2C. So as I mentioned, I am a lead of the financial inclusion stream within PF, which is a strategic topic. And financial inclusion is clearly embedded in the purpose of PF, which is promote access to more responsible and sustainable consumption to support our customers and partners. And as responsible of financial inclusion, the mission of Florence and I is to find new business models for PF, provide access to responsible and sustainable consumption to individuals who would normally have been rejected. And we have to offer disruptive solutions that meet their needs while increasing the positive impact of PF and ensuring a reasonable level of profitability. That's the mission of financial inclusion within PF.
All right.
We decided that our first focus would be on the young people. So, and the young people for us, it's the people aged between 18 and 30. So last summer, we interviewed 5,000 young people in Europe, in 6 different countries of Europe, and we saw that 42% of the young people do not consider to take a credit due to a lack of knowledge. 56% of them said they would go to financial experts or institutions to find information to finance their plan. 30% of the interviewees said that receiving advice about better managing their budget is a priority they expect from credit institutions. So on this basis, we think we have a role to play in accompanying the young people to manage their budget, have a more responsible consumption, and prepare their future. We had some first ideas when we discussed internally with countries and corporate functions about the support we can give. So we had ideas about communicating on financial literacy through gaming. We thought about communicating in social medias or in the metaverse. We discussed a lot about simulation tools, but we are happy today to benefit from this session to get your ideas and maybe to get a little bit further in how we can provide support for these young people. So really happy to be with you today, and I hope that we will have a fun and really interesting session.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So throughout your discussion here, I just captured a couple of interesting points that you raised during your description. What we're trying to do now is build a user profile. So to get a better understanding of young, and when we talk about young people, ages 18 to 30, are there any other sort of like hobbies or interests, or what do you see that age group or the demographic moving towards in the future?
The question for me or for the group, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess.
for you, for the group, or
Okay.
okay, maybe for the group, anybody online. When you think about age 18 to 30, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What are they doing? What?
I think, hi, I'm Maria from Spain.
Yeah, Maria.
Hi. I think most of them have very similar needs in terms of people. It depends on the stage, because 18 to 30, it's actually a huge range.
Yeah.
You go through different moments in the life. So at the beginning, maybe you are more focused in studying and traveling, and I don't know, as we have discussed in some internal workshops, like trying to obtain your driving license, or being more focused on those kind of things, whereas people maybe from 25 ahead are more focused on trying to save or trying to buy things for a future home. So I think it differs a lot on according to inside that age range. There should be several subgroups, as I find it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And you're absolutely right. I think it's important to note that age range, there's also a lot of, major life events that would happen in between 18 to 30, right? You can go anywhere from graduating high school right up into, I don't know, you could get married, you could all kinds of things. I have a kid, buy your first house, all kinds of these different life events can take place in that really short amount of time. So it's a really good point. What type of influencers? So when you think about the age 18 to 30, and from a financial perspective, who are influencing the younger generation currently, do you think? And this is a question out to everybody again.
Hi again, I'm Maria.
Yeah.
So since I'm actually turning 27 in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
So
perfect. Okay.
yeah, so I wouldn't say I have a lot of financial influencers like in my daily life, but like regular influencers I follow, they maybe sometimes show apps like they give you cashback when you buy clothes, or they have specific discounts, or there are banks. There's a bank in Spain called Imagine Bank from CaixaBank, which is a really important group here. But they have launched a bank specific for Spain, for youngsters, sorry. And they do plans that they share with influencers, regular influencers, just to attract people to those kind of plans, and then just, but not about financial management or budgeting or everything like that.
Okay. So influencers is a big, and by influencers, you're talking about, Instagrams, and the likes, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. YouTube and all that fun stuff. Okay.
I'm not in the range of age of 18 30 anymore, unfortunately. But in our study, we saw that the family was still extremely important to influence the financial decision.
Yeah. I also mentioned when you said cashback when buying clothes, so retailers, I'm seeing a lot of partnerships with retailers lately, billboards and advertisements around to, the buy now, pay later, and all of these fun things that are coming along. And it's not the banks specifically that are marketing this type of activity. It's actually the retailers, right? So they're starting to use financial, I guess, communication coming from a retail sort of industry as well. Seeing that. So let's touch a bit quickly on the pains. Like, what do you think the overall, if you're 18 to 30, obviously we had the lack of knowledge and finance and banking. We heard that from Laurence earlier. And what other pains do you think that the younger generation, the 18 to 30s, are facing when it comes to whether it be financial literacy or financial education or access to information, awareness, availability to credit? Anybody, and this goes out to anybody on the call again. Feel free to chime in. Everybody's kind of just microphones on. What else do you think are some of the big pains that are? Lada, do you have anything, or maybe Hussein?
I would say is knowledge. Knowledge is very important. Myself, I'm 30 years old. So
Okay.
yeah, so basically we always are surrounded by similar age groups. So everyone is just, you always try to basically stay up with the trends. So whenever you see, basically you're influenced by your friends and what they do and how they spend their money and what they spend it on, and you tend to basically just go along with that. So there is not much self-discipline or this kind of maturity in place. So this is another issue that I face.
Okay, so if I could summarize that, maybe it's just because you're always hanging around similar people, everybody sort of just rolls around the status quo, and it's hard to get that information into the status quo group. Maybe is that?
Yeah, and it depends on who you hang around with. So
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
yeah, and lack of motivation to actually go through financial discipline and to do saving, for example, because if you have no purpose, you'll just spend left, right, and center.
Okay, that's a really good insight. Thank you. Anybody else want to share maybe another pain that you think younger people are having with I mean, I'm going to throw one out there. So for me, I think there are so many different websites and ways and ideas that are flowing around, and sometimes it's hard to understand which one's actually good and which one's bad, because everybody has these different opinions. And since everything that's on the website, on the World Wide Web, is also true, then it's hard to believe everything that I research. So it's hard to decipher what's right, what's wrong, what's good for me, even when I go and try and research information.
I think another important thing, it's related with what Laurence mentioned, the lack of knowledge, is that I don't know in your countries, but here in Spain, for instance, where you are at the last 2 years of high school, so prior to going to university, economic lessons, like economy class, is not compulsory for people that studies chemistry, physics, mathematics, biology. And I think that's really an issue, because you need to learn how to manage your own budget at your home, or just have financial, like basic financial knowledge. I don't know, what is GDP? And they don't teach you that in school. At least you go through the social and more maybe arts path of study.
Yeah. And then also maybe that also lends into how early are children actually getting financial. So for example, I know back in Canada, they were running this Junior Achievers program where they were starting to introduce banking, savings, and things like that, and what a card was at grade 4, right? But it wasn't actually taught in school. It was a separate kind of volunteer service and it just got me thinking. I'm like, okay, well, if it's so important and then schools are actually bringing it in, why aren't they just including it in a classroom anyways, right? In grade 4 and things like that too. So I think that's a really good point. What just so quickly on this topic, what do you think would make in general the lives easier for the 18 to 30-year-olds when it comes to whether it be access to credit or access to the knowledge and information around financial services, maybe the benefits or process, or what do you think would make people's lives easier?
Chris, we just have a input on the pain side. Just want to highlight that from one of our participants. No access to models outside of your group of contacts. Can person maybe speak out a little bit to, elaborate a little bit more at this point?
Yeah, sure. That was me, Will. What I was thinking there is basically like if you're from a certain economic background, you're just surrounded by people that like have similar background, and that limits somehow where you can you see yourself go in the future. So thinking from a underprivileged background people, if you don't have people in your background that or in your surroundings that actually I don't know, have invested and bought a flat, or gone to certain schools, or invested early on, or started putting money aside as you start working, or things like that. So your habits, as we saw it with the influencers earlier, your habits would come from your direct family and friends. So if you don't have the right habits getting there, that's an issue, that's a pain. And maybe you're not as ambitious as someone else that has different family, friends, and background, and the choices you make, and saving and investing, etc. So how to basically, maybe one of the challenges is how to let people know all the options they actually have.
Thank you. I think that is a lot of similarity I see in the points, like always surrounded by the similar group of people. I think that everybody will be, along with the status quo. Exactly. Back to you, Chris. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, of course, that's perfect. So just on that, what would make your life easier if you're talking about, getting into the right habits and things like that, or awareness? What do you think would make these kids' lives easier?
We saw that sometimes the language of the financial institution was not simple or clear enough. So probably something to do in a better communication. Having a clear, simpler language. Transparency is also something that is often mentioned.
Yeah, what are the hidden?
Yes, the small caps.
Yeah, what are the small pains? I'm gonna put that in the pains. What's in the small print? No trust.
We actually have someone raising his hand. Stonyan.
Yep.
Do you have a point, or you want to bring out something?
Hi there. Yeah, just I was thinking around this gains things, and there was some of the previous points that was about yeah, the I cannot find it right now, but yeah, that people are influenced by their peers, by their social group, right? So and if this social group or peers are not good influencers for these young people, maybe there is an opportunity to find some good influencers, like make it more like a social network kind of thing, where practically you put some good examples out there of other young people who are actually learning and able to communicate what they improved in their life, so they become better role models than the people that are in the current social circle of these people that we are targeting here. So this is a kind of positive influence, not like the consumption type of influence, but responsible consumption type of influence and so on. So finding these kind of good examples and finding a way to promote these good examples could be a good way to change bad habits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Influencer network promotion.
I would also say that it's important. It's linked to the being simple and clear. I would say that since we are young, we would be very benefited from simple models or offers that are flexible also, and that can make us learn by our experience, and that they can adapt to each moment that we have in the life and the priority or needs that we have.
And that goes back to that whole life changes so quickly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we learn and adapt to life changes. Yeah, I'm thinking about, if you're 18, maybe you want to go and buy a bike or a car or something like that. And then through that financing, then you can start educating people in terms of, okay, this is how you extend it out into if you're looking for a property. And then, right, the more and more you grow, then the more and more you understand the process of gaining and maintaining credit, responsible credit, I should say.
Maybe to add something here to this previous point, because this morning I was discussing with my wife. She works with some younger, let's say, people. I'm not so young anymore, but that's a kind of contact center where there's plenty of people that are in this age group that we're talking about. And I was totally unrelated to the session that I'm in, but it was somehow a coincidence this morning. And so she told me about two examples of people, one of which is exactly because you mentioned about buying a car, and that's exactly the example. So he just made 6 months of on the job, and that's exactly after probation period, so it becomes permanent, perfect target for lenders of all kinds.
Yeah.
And they gave him a loan for a car. And maybe then he bought also a phone for himself and for his girlfriend, and basically loan after loan. So this is I don't know if it's for the gains, but yes, for the gains, I think responsible kind of lending is very important at this stage of life, because in fact, some people early in their careers and early in their lives can very quickly get into over indebtedness, right? So if they don't, if they don't understand, and of course, there are different lender practices out there, and there's some, of course, payday loan providers who would, give these loans without, paying attention to responsible lending practices.
Correct.
And there was another example where, someone was already over indebted and blacklisted, and so the question is, how do you help these people get out of the situation they're in? So kind of identifying excluded people and actually helping them through coaching or through certain educational materials to get out and then, of course, step on their on the ground and yeah.
I've added one to the gains. The last point, I think that can also be a pain if you don't know. So basically, differentiating between needs and wants. If they're mixed up, then you could end up with a lot of financial problems.
Yeah. Do I want a Bentley? Yes. Do I need a Bentley? No, probably not. Yeah, exactly. I have to constantly review this with my kids as well. So I think it's a very, very valid point as well. Managing expectations, your own expectations, I think. Okay, so I think we have.
I think that there is a point where when we have some projects, sometimes they cannot be aware of the total cost of the project. So, for instance, buying a car or having a new apartment, you must be aware of all the costs associated to that. So it's only not buying a car, but it's the fuel, it's the maintenance, it's the taxes, and so on. And perhaps having all this information of cost to better manage the budget, the future budget, would be interesting. I'm not sure everybody is aware of all the consequences.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And again, that ties in really nicely with the small print and things like that too. When people go and they want to buy a car or an apartment, or I know Will is a successful new owner of his first new apartment as well. So I'm sure you are well aware of the total cost that it's that you're incurring with your new apartment. So yeah, it's quite daunting actually when you think about it.
This was the example of my wife this morning, that the guy bought a car and so on, and then he was not driving it because he didn't have some money to change something. I mean, it broke a little bit. And yeah, so exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we had, I think that's a really good overview of the kind of persona that we're trying to take a look at. And then down here we had sort of 5 kind of ideas or questions or things that we wanted to think about today. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and build what we call a value proposition canvas. And what that does is first we take a look at our personas, jobs to be done. And what this is are just the functional or emotional or things like that our persona is looking to do. So we've already captured a few of them. Here is like how to create credit history, how to make financial budget and learning habits, how do I gain financial education, credit access, how do I access the right types of credit, and what are some best practices on savings and investments. And then from there, we're going to try and take a look at, okay, from these, how to make a financial budget, what are the outcomes that you think that, okay, if this person has a budget, what are they going to be able to achieve with it at the end of the day? If this person does have financial education, how will that make them feel, or how will that make their life better by having that financial education? So what changes by them having good financial education? Or creating a credit history, how are they able to use that and catapult themselves into the future by having good credit history? So once we've kind of gone through this example in terms of the gains, what they're trying to do, we'll take a look at some of the pains, specifically around accessing credit or how to make a budget. And then we're going to, this is when we get into the actual idea section, is how do we overcome some of these pains? What are some ideas that we can do in order for these people to either overcome the pains that they're feeling within these specific jobs to be done, or what are some gain creators? So if this person is trying to feel or trying to achieve or trying to do something, perhaps there's something else that we can discuss that might actually help this person achieve what their end results and end goals are. Finally, what we'll do is just quickly discuss a list of, products or services or things that we can offer them that might help them achieve either their gain creators or the pain relievers. So sure, that was a big mouthful. I'll explain it as we go on. No worries. I'm just trying to give you an over. So if I just zoom into here, and I'll summon everyone. I'm down here. So let's start with creating a credit history. So if our persona, if our 18-year-old to 30-year-olds are able to create a credit history, what can they achieve? What can they do with that? Why is that important? What do you think?
Well, I would say it's a way, first of all, to access to more financial services. Well, even though in Spain there's no positive bureau, there's only a negative one, but they would avoid to be in the negative one. So yeah, I would say it's mainly that.
Okay.
I don't know, improved purchasing power. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lower cost.
Sorry.
Lower cost? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Like lower cost of borrowing. Yeah.
Yeah, in India, to create a best credit history is to get an education loan, and then, we need to pay correctly without any default. So that's how we create the first credit history. Yeah.
Sorry, and how do you get this education loan? Do you need to have some parents vouching for you or something, guaranteeing?
Some banks ask for that, but here are some government regulations where all should be able to get enough, education. So there are some banks who ask for this parents' property or collateral, but some doesn't.
All right, thank you.
How about financial education? So with good financial education, what outcomes or benefits will the persona gain by having financial education?
Select the products or financial products that better match their preferences, and I would say that they have less possibilities and probabilities to be to hire a product that it's not good for them or something like that.
Correct. Anything else from financial education?
You're able to reduce risky transactions.
Yep.
I would also say improved mental health. Because you're not stressed, yeah, you're not worried.
Like very good.
Starts a habit of saving.
Great. All right. Who did the blue and the green and the purple? Is that you, Will?
Yeah, that's me.
You can tell we've worked together a few times. Okay, so now making a budget. So making a budget and turning that into a habit. What are the gains? What are the things that you gain from making a financial budget?
Yeah, I think it helps you reduce negative addictive tendencies.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Maybe also it helps you to prioritize and identify what really are the important things.
Very important if you are cash strapped, which most 18 to 30-year-olds are living paycheck to paycheck. Prioritization is absolutely critical.
Not sure if this opinion fits here. School curriculum can, I mean, in school curriculum, we can include some saving scheme or something like.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, when I was in school, there was one scheme actually where kids can, just go and give whatever they have from, from the pocket money. Yeah, I used to give 5 rupees for 10 rupees and all. That becomes a part of the savings bank in school.
yeah. And by budgeting and learning a habit, you're actually able to the younger you are, the younger you start to save. Compounding.
Right.
Okay. How about credit accessibility? So having more access to credit. What do you get out of having more access to credits?
Maybe you feel more in power to realize your dream.
I like it.
Help us to be independent at the young age.
Maybe also feel that you feel comfortable that you can deal with any unplanned issues that can arise.
Yeah, emergency fund.
Exactly.
Okay, like it. Great. And then finally, what are some gains on if you have a responsible investment savings plan? You gain out of it, I guess. I'm going to say early retirement.
There is this popular called FIRE movement, financial independence retire early. It's a movement among the youth nowadays.
Can be a witch for the not so young, you know.
Yeah. I know that as my mom grows older, she's going to need support, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Any last additions before I switch?
I don't know under which section, but maybe improved ability to judge well.
Improve ability to
Judge well, make good judgments.
Oh, okay. I'll put that probably in the education.
What we saw in the survey we did is that stability seemed rather important still for the young people.
Yeah.
So savings and financial literacy can bring this financial stability.
Great.
It helps to create new entrepreneurs. They can start their own business rather
Yeah.
than going for jobs.
Yeah, good point.
Which ultimately helps the economy grow. Right. That's good. When you think of the macro level, has a huge impact. So it creates jobs.
As buying a house can be important as well, and the savings can help to realize this project.
Which one? Sorry, Laura.
Saving,
Yeah, investment.
yes, can help to realize the project of having a house. You know, it will be a little bit easier if you can bring some personal fund.
Yeah. Own house. Great. Now for the less fun part. If when you think about credit history, what are some of the annoyances? And remember, we're thinking on behalf of 18 to 30-year-olds here. What are some of the annoyances that they're facing right now in terms of gaining access or creating credit history?
Yeah, as someone mentioned, like some banks ask for parents' collateral. Yeah, that's one of the pain.
Which is it's
Asking for parents' collateral. They'll ask for
Oh,
parents' property details to pledge.
yeah, agreed. I'm gonna say it's if you make a mistake, it's really hard to fix, right? Going back to that comment that we had earlier in terms of if you do happen to make a mistake and you get blacklisted or something like that, then how do you get back on the right track, right? I'm also going to include don't know how credit history is calculated. So how do I what is good versus bad or whatever? Don't know why credit history.
Also the fact that it takes times to create a credit history. And if you are at the beginning of your life, probably you need money and you don't have a credit history yet. So
Usage of credit cards, because if you didn't pay correctly, then it can impact your credit history. Will
Yeah.
that come under?
Well, actually, that's really interesting. Yesterday, we were having another ideation session about embedded finance and lending at point of sale. And the use cases was somehow related here. The credit history made me think of it. We were considering actually a French guy moving to the UK, quite young person, and then even though that person can have a job and revenue, etc., they're moving to a new country, so they don't have any credit history there. So maybe also something to consider for immigrants, or like when you are moving from country to another, how can you possibly get that credit history or bring it from your original country to the new one?
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Now financial education. So what are some pains, annoyances, problems, experiences around financial education that you think?
Accessibility of content, like
Yeah. And also,
yes, reliability of the content.
uh,
How can you be sure that it's a good information?
it differs country to countries, so that can make confusions.
oh, good one.
Sometimes it remains difficult to understand. It's quite technical.
Yeah, I would also add to that is that it's boring. But
Yeah, exactly. It's and that goes into the
Yeah, I
whole
agree.
game,
Yeah.
metaverse and things like that. I think that's a
Yeah, I agree. We do have a reduced attention span as young people, yeah. So it's difficult to read pages and pages of financial. information.
okay. Next, how to make financial budgets. So, what are some challenges on creating a financial budget?
The lack of knowledge.
It's very difficult to also maintain. Once you set a budget, you lose track very easily. And then you end up losing the whole motivation to carry on.
Yeah. Thank you, Will. Yeah, and the other thing too that I've had problems with is there are so many different systems, and so you keep a budget for one certain thing, and then I always end up just going back to, a pad and a piece of paper because it's just, is it on my phone? Is it on my computer? Is it, where is it? And where do I get that central source of truth, right? So
The global overview. It's
yeah.
Tracking daily expenses.
Yeah, that again, going back to that difficult to maintain and track.
I remember accessing some of those apps and applications to do that, and require costs as well. So you need to pay subscription base to access to those applications.
Yeah, that's a good point, Will. Yeah, it costs me. Yeah, so why would I do it? It's good insight, Will. Nice one. Okay, how about credit access to credit? So what are the struggles? What are some experiences or problems that the youth are getting to access credit?
Sometimes you actually get outright rejected if you apply for a credit card. So it's like before you even begin, they reject your application instantly online. So it's not a good start.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think what's also painful is in case you don't have any explanation, or so maybe something to add on the gains is that having some advice, explanation, alternatives whenever the answer is no.
I'm going to put that in right here as a pain reliever. You need So what if instead of just rejecting someone, you could say, okay, at this time you're not available, and here's a list of things that you need to do in order to get approved, right? Then the person feels like, oh, okay. Now I can make adjustments and I'll try again next year or something.
Yeah, maybe jumping to the ideation already, but could be also like maybe connecting other sources of data that can be used in the decision can help you.
Okay, can you give me an example?
So connecting previous bank accounts that you had with other banks, or connecting, I don't know, if someone is getting revenue from selling stuff on Etsy or something, then connecting your account or PayPal or any alternative data sources that could be financial or non-financial.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Do we want to just jump into the ideation session? I think we've thought about pains and things like that a little bit too long. So let me just drag these over. Okay. Think you guys can figure out what we're doing now?
Fun time, ideation time.
Okay, so when we think about credit accessibility, any other ideas in terms of, or what about hard to keep everything in one place, difficult to maintain, requires money to use good budget tools? Is there anything that we can provide that would help relieve that pain? What about offering free budget tool included in my savings checking accounts?
Right, I think that is mentioned about tracking daily expenses, right? Because I think the youngster use a lot on their mobile phone payment or whatever. So if I use that application and make payment, everything is summarized for me on how much I'm spending for the month. Then I think that would be a good way. So you do away the pinpoint of tracking the daily expenses. No more pen and paper.
Yeah, so it'd be nice if I got even a weekly update in terms of, I just go into my checking account or something like that, click on a couple of savings and things like that too, and then automatically, I get an email once a week. Hey, here's how you're doing. Here's against the benchmark that you're set. Here's your high. Here's your low. How you're tracking.
Yep. I think when they are doing part-time and there is financial advice is always pay yourself first. So whenever the money come in, so the application could automatically deduct certain amount for saving.
Okay, so I like the pay yourself. So going into, yeah. Set up pay yourself first account. I've also seen this this idea thrown around where every time that you make a transaction, there's an incremental, you can set a setting that you can add $1, for example, to every single transaction that you do. So every time you go to the gas, pay for gas, or even if you buy a chocolate bar or whatever the case might be, yeah, your credit, the actual credit going, the transaction will be for that amount. But then when it's actually reflected back into your bank account, it actually charges you $1 extra, but just moves that dollar into a savings account. So then every time that you're actually using a transaction, you're continuously adding, but in an incremental value where you don't actually notice it that much, right? It's kind of like moving with inflation, slowly.
Setting credit card limits, spend limits.
Yeah.
I would say also like notifications and reminders when you are about to pass a certain limit, or when you are spending too much in a certain category, maybe.
Yeah, a notification on reaching limits or spending too much in certain category. Beautiful. So what could we do, for example, around financial education? So
I think it's key to make the content attractive, and to make young people see that their environment is also interested in this topic, and so that it motivates them to learn about it.
Yeah, I think one of the point is always thinking whether you are good at your financial budgeting, how is your financial health. I think that if there is like influencer or good marketing materials to tell us what good look like, I think that would be very helpful for the youth.
okay,
Including the basics in curriculum.
include the basics. How did, give me an example of how, anybody on the call, when have you had fun learning? And this could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about financial institutions, but someone tell me about a time when they had fun learning. Wow.
One is
Looks like
basically
we have a big problem to solve in Sorry, go ahead.
one is engagedness. One is not just one way teaching, and they're asking questions along the way to engage you and to get your input. That's when I enjoy the most.
Right, some interactive sessions. I learn most of these financial items from Instagram. There are some influencers who create quality content. So I learned about some savings and different, diverse saving items from the Instagram, to be open.
Okay.
I learned
Can
from
I ask you
TikTok.
how you select the influencers? Because we know that there are good influencers and bad influencers. How do you select the one you follow?
I go and read different forums based on their inputs. So there I make the judgments. And also there are some apps available where we can make our own judgment, right? So I follow them. Yeah.
So Instagram, it's the touch point, but then you go, for instance, on YouTube and so on, looking at more
Yeah,
deep
right.
information. Okay.
Right. At the earlier stages, there are some pains. You need to understand, everything, basics. Then after that, it will be a bit more okay to go along.
Okay.
Also, discussion among the like-minded people. Some friends are like, they might be interested to have a talk about some topics. So we discuss.
What about if we think about credit history, asking for collateral? What are some other ways that you think that we could build credit history that doesn't include? I mean, what's
Support from government?
Support from parents if you're 18 to 30 sometimes.
okay? Can you borrow credit ratings from parents? So get like, you know how you get like an underwriter, or you know how you get a cosigner? Could you potentially get your parents' credit rating to cosign for you? I don't know. What are things? So if you make a mistake on your credit history, what can you do to fix it, or how would we get people to fix it?
Maybe, I don't know, but designing a product that is less risky for the financial institution, but gives them their availability to improve, and also, of course, by teaching them or showing how to manage, having maybe, I don't know, a financial advisor, but like in an informal way, or
Okay,
a buddy
so maybe
to guide them.
take a financial course, kind of like, you know, if you get too many traffic tickets,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to go to traffic school, right? And then once you go to traffic school, then they'll take the tickets off your record.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of like, okay, so if you have a couple of mistakes on your credit card, then maybe you're forced to go to financial school. And then once you finish your financial school, then you can come back and then your credit ratings reset. Take a, okay. I like this. So also, how is credit history calculated? Does anyone here know how credit history is calculated? I have no idea. All I know is that at least back in Canada, I know that 800 is good and anything under is terrible. And I don't know what my score is and how it's used and things like that too. So,
And that's probably different on each country, right?
yeah. So we need so country specific course on what is credit score. And I mean, maybe it doesn't even have to be a course, right? It could be, I'm just thinking, depending on where you're using your app, whatever the country is, you could literally just go into an app and say, okay, in this country, how is credit calculated? And then it just gives you a one paragraph, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be this whole go into a course and learn anything. It just can be a quick access. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. What about what things have you, so for anybody here who's actually has a habit of savings, can you give me an example of where you were proud, where something that you saved for, like give me an example. So recently, Will, for example, like how long were you saving for your house that you just bought?
Probably take me about a good 5 to 10 years to save it up slowly. Yep. So what I did is that monthly I pay myself first. Like I mentioned, I'll put some money into the saving account and put certain amount into the investment, like a S&P 500. So
Yeah.
those started to grow with years of compounding. So finally I get some of the deposit and down payment saved, and here I am, my place.
And how did you learn that?
Social media, there's a lot of especially during this period of working from home and staying at home, you access a lot of YouTube channels, TikTok. So you have to judge whether these are good content. So you find right YouTuber influencer that you follow, and then get the right. You choose what is the right information for you, and then learn from them.
So I liked that going back to our original, when we were talking about where was it? The social influencers, right?
Yep.
The responsible influencer and network and promotion. So I'm going to drag that down here. So what if BNP Paribas could set up a TikTok channel and that had successful young young adults actually create content on the TikTok channel using BNP as the platform, but it's actually customers of yours sharing their success stories and things like that too, and examples, and trying to educate the youth.
I think that's a great idea to create financial literacy, but it should be combined with the development of products for youngsters, because if we attract them and we don't have an offer for them, or we are not ready to serve them, then it wouldn't really make sense, I think.
Okay.
Also awareness at the workplaces, because kids from rural places might not be aware of the SIP, or they might not be access to this internet. So after joining a office or any job, they should be aware of different products and the saving schemes.
Also, I know we're focusing on the 18 to 30 years old here, but what about starting earlier, starting with younger people, just focusing on the financial education, budget management, and as these people would grow, they would be ready to consume any products from BNPP. Yeah, so starting early.
Are you okay with such brands, such financial institution brands, reaching directly the kids? Are you okay with that, or is it
Actually, in India, we had a scheme. Actually, it was a government organized scheme called Sanchega. If you Google it, you might get the details where kids can start saving. At any, at any rate. It doesn't ask for any particular amount, but I'm not sure if that scheme exists. That helped me a lot in savings. So whenever I get some money, I go and, put in that. I used to save using that scheme. Maybe, as a socio economic perspective, we might can include some, kids can, get the plastic materials or something, and then they can something like that. Like, I'm not sure if I can present that here. They can just give some bottles, or in return they might get 1 or 2 rupees. I'm talking in India perspective. I'm saying in
No, that's great. I know
yeah,
exactly. We have the
yeah.
same in Canada. Yeah, it's a really big thing. Actually, in Vancouver, it's one of the ways that they keep the city so clean. They actually don't really, they have a recycling program, but most of the bottles are actually collected by people with community, and then they go and actually return them, and then they get some money. So it actually helps fund some of the homeless communities and some of the some more like pressured communities and people like that. So yeah, it's definitely not just in India. It's even in Canada and I'm sure elsewhere.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Or in school they can, grow a farm, and in return of their, the vegetables or fruits, they can collect the money and use that fund, or they can split among the members. That's also something we can look into.
Actually, I have one thought about the credit rating one. Can this credit rating be transparent to the user? In a sense, if I open the app, I could see that and link it up with gamification. So it's a way to help them to improve their credit score by certain actions that the app could recommend. You can do this, you can do that to improve your credit rating. So your credit rating right now is 3. If you want to improve it to 1, these are the steps that you could potentially do to help.
Yeah, that's
And I think at one point on the influencer side, on the social media, TikTok, I would say, to be frank, I would not be very interested to look at a bank account from in social media, but I would access to influencer. So this bank could then partner with the right influencer to provide the financial educations to the public. I would say that would attract a little bit more than going to the bank account on TikTok or YouTube.
yeah. Okay, so what else makes you financially independent? Like, can someone describe, okay, what does financial independence mean to them?
Not having to work anymore.
Okay.
Being on their own, helping family.
Right. So what could we do what kind of product or services can we help to?
Would it spend less than you earn? So could we limit the expenses on this individual so that they can do that, spend less than what they earned? Because to me, that's considered financial freedom. You don't overspend the limits.
Okay, so if I get this right, let's say you get a debit of $1,000 a month, right, in your bank account. Instead of giving an overdraft limit, you're actually given an underdraft limit, so you can only spend $900 of that.
Yeah, but kind of sort of, I'm thinking is that let's say you get a 1,000, right? So that amount will bucket into your retirement saving.
Yeah.
So that amount will go into your emergency fund. Then certain amount will go into your expenses for the month. So from a long-term future wise, I think one of the point talking about future plan, right? That is covered in the sense.
And then would you be able to access it, or would it be locked?
Making it difficult for me to access, I would say, rather than lock. That would be very sad.
Okay, so not completely liquid. It would be like semi-liquid. Like you'd have to apply and have like a 72-hour sort of waiting period for you to access the funds and.
Right. Or make me physically go down to the bank to access it.
Okay, I like it.
Maybe we can even add some more fun to that, like you need to run a marathon, or you have certain challenges to do in case you'd like to access that blocked fund.
Adding to health, right? So it's like number of steps.
Exactly.
How about right budgeting, where you also have an option to save in diverse saving schemes?
Okay. So are you thinking more like you put it into a fund and then maybe the bank actually acts as a fund manager? So like let's say I only save, like I want to save $100 a month, but I want 30% of that to go into investments. I want, $20 to go into an emergency savings fund, and then I want the rest to go into
Right.
Yeah. So then
Kind
the
of
bank would actually
project savings.
project savings, and then the actual app will act as it's like a robo fund manager almost.
Yep.
Right.
Right. I think you can set on your own goals in the sense maybe you are planning to travel to another country in the next 3 months or so, or even next year. You set your own goal and you put certain monthly fund into that. And that fund could also be, I think Juno mentioned it's like an investment fund as well. You will grow at the same time. You save plus you grow.
Robo fund manager. Allocate. Okay, yeah, so I want to go on vacation or I want to buy a car. And then it's kind of like when you go online and you fill out the pre-approvals for mortgages and things like that. You say, okay, well, how much is the mortgage? How much do you have saved? What are your monthly expenses? And then they calculate the sort of the payments. So you reverse that and say, okay, I want to buy this car. So how much do you want to save? What's your time?
Yep.
And then what are the different savings? Like, do you want to do a like how we're saving a transactional savings, so that every time you do a transaction, we add $1 to the transaction? Or do you want to do a lump sum, or do you want to do a funding, or do you want investments, and what's your risk profile and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, you can choose your risk appetite in
Yeah.
a sense. Yeah, low or high.
And as
Then
credit institution, we could perhaps use that capacity of reaching this goal in the scoring. So saying, okay, you have been able to save this money and to follow the plan you had. So we take that into account as a credit affordability.
So that would go towards your credit score. Yeah, 'cause it's showing financial just stability, awareness, responsibility, going back to the original sort of responsible, what is responsible saving, what is responsible finance, right? I like that. That's a good one. How about I think that also goes to that pain on how do we help reduce negative tendencies, right? So this is promoting positive financial responsibility. It's also helping you prioritize importance, saving schemes and everything. Yeah, so good idea. Okay, so just finally, I mean, we have about 15 minutes left here. I just wanted to ask the audience in terms of, are there, out of, how many people do we have here? We have online. Okay, within this box of the ideas, I'm going to set up a vote right now, and I'm going to give everybody 3 votes to click on any post-it notes that you see here that resonates with you, that you think that we should take on as a challenge in a hackathon. We think that we could build on, we could hack on, we could actually do something within a hackathon that'll make a difference. So let me just okay. So again, just to reiterate, I'm going to summon everybody here. Just on this section right here in the square, any of the ideas that you want to vote on that you think we should take into further, that we could hack on, just go ahead and you click on the post-it note. And for those who are not in Mural, feel free to just throw your vote on the meeting chat, and I can include your vote in here as well.
we have 1 vote for set your own goals.
Got it.
In chat. Okay, cool. From Rollins.
Okay, I see San, Visiting Spider, Squid. Did we lose everybody? Thanks, friends.
Any other votes? Don't be shy.
Okay, we'll do okay. I think the Visiting Spider's busy, so I'll in the voting session. All right, it looks like we have a clear winner. So set your own goals and funds, and the Robo Fund Manager will allocate for you. Anybody on here feel like they can build a quick and dirty wireframe prototype by April 4th, I think, April 5th? I hope so. Will, I think we could probably draft up something pretty quick, eh?
We can, for sure.
Cool. So I'll just I'll take a screenshot of this. Now I will put it in the chat for anybody that wants to save those Post-it notes. Those are some of the ideas that came out. And if you want to go away and see if you can hack away and buy more than means. And after that, I'd like to, I think pretty much it for the session that we had in store for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was fun and educational and had some fun. Florence, anything that you'd like to add or share with us before we start hacking?
I would like to thank you very much. That was really interesting. So there are some points we already touched, so that's good because we were not totally wrong.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
But there are some new stuff that are really interesting. So that's really really inspiring for us. And now I can't wait to see if there will be some ideas in the hackathon that will
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
that
Thank
will
you so much.
answer these needs.
And thank you
It was
for
really a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for bringing these ideas and this opportunity for us to hack as well. I think I really appreciate your support and interest, and good luck with the kids and bringing on that financial inclusion with BNP Paribas.
We'll do our best.
Yeah, I know you will. I know you will for sure. Shirin?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris and Will, for running the session for us. That was really cool. I enjoyed it. I'm sure all of us in the call did. Thank you again, Laurence and Florence, for sharing those challenges with us. I think that was really interesting to go from sustainable, inclusive finance to something really more specific with the challenges that you brought. That's extremely helpful. And yeah, I think we've got some really cool ideas. So looking forward to your submissions, Chris and Will.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for your time. And yeah, looking forward to the projects. And as you know, it's all happening on fintech.devpost.com. I'll also put the link on the chat here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.